Hi, everybody. My name is Amber. I am with Edge Counseling and Wellness, and I am the practice manager as well as wellness and somatic coach for the practice. Today we're talking about setting your 2025 up for success. And we're going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of looking at goal setting more traditionally, like SMART goals and things of that nature, we are just setting things up by taking a couple of steps back. I'm not trying to say that goal setting with bigger goals is a bad thing, but I think we all know the New Year's resolutioners who set out to lose 50 pounds, and then at the end of January they've already thrown in the towel. And so I'm just proposing that we consider taking a couple of steps back so that way we can really understand what's important to us and align our goals up after we take a look and consider what is really important to us. So that is what we'll be doing today. You can pause this at any time. There will be a couple of times where I will ask you to work through a document, which if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have the document in the notes. But pause it at any time and take as much time as you need, and then come back when you're ready. All right, let me get this share set up. Great. So setting your 2025 up for success. And just so you know, I am not a therapist, and this is not considered therapy. Just know that if there are any things that you feel would be helpful for you to talk one-on-one with an individual, we are always here, and you can reach out to me. I'm actually the person that you would reach out to in order to get set up with a therapist and a provider under our practice. So a little background about myself. I am local to the Peoria area. I actually grew up in Princeville. And when I graduated, I knew I wanted to do something in the health and wellness field, but I wasn't quite sure what that would look like. I thought I was going to do nursing and got my certified nurse's aide and realized that that was not for me. And then I looked into chiropractic. And when I found exercise science, it was a very new field in the kinesiology world. And I found that at Illinois State University. And I'm so, so glad that I took that route. I worked in the fitness field for 15 years and I taught classes. I was a personal trainer. I was a wellness coach, and I still hold those certifications and really enjoy teaching a class now and then. But I decided to take a couple of steps back because I really started to notice that in the personal training world or teaching group fitness classes, the need for mental health and really looking holistically at our wellness was really needed. Especially, I started noticing that after 2020 and the COVID pandemic. And so I joined the practice with Edge Counseling and Wellness. And I was already a wellness coach, but I decided to add a couple of different certifications under my belt, including somatic training, which is the integrative trauma coach with the Aura Institute. And I couldn't be happier. I'm so excited that I went down this path. I have really enjoyed my time working with individuals and taking a step back to look at their holistic health, such as not just their physical, but their mental health as well. Some hobbies that I enjoy. I am actually running a half marathon in all 50 states. I am at 27 right now. And I think my next one is in Jackson, Mississippi in February. So therefore, I love traveling. I love to be able to see new and different places. And doing the half marathons in all 50 states has taken me to places that I would have never considered a destination for myself. And so we've been able to see some really cool things. I do enjoy yoga very much. I never would have thought I would have said that about 10 years ago because it was a little bit too slow for me, but now I really do enjoy slowing down and having a little time to breathe and be more present. And being outside does that as well. I love doing any activities outside. Summer is my favorite season. And I love hiking and biking and just being outside with my family. Okay, so that is enough about me. as promised, so why goal setting alone is enough? Saying why it isn't enough by itself. Many people rush into setting goals, and we all see that with those New Year's resolutioners. And a lot of times I believe that it's because they don't understand their core value or values. And so therefore, their goals are misaligned with core values, and it can lead to burnout, dissatisfaction, and lack of motivation. We'll talk a little bit about the connection between goals and values later on in this discussion. But this workshop focuses on using values as the foundation for effective and meaningful goal setting. Okay, so just a little research on values and decision making. So first of all, research shows us that understanding personal values enhances decision making and goal achievement. So let's say you are really on the fence of a decision that you would like to make. And if you are able to be more well connected to your core values, the belief is that you will actually be able to make those hard decisions much faster because you know what your core values are and you know what's most important to you, and so therefore the decision making becomes a lot easier. Also, values provide clarity and consistency, especially in challenging situations. So just like what I stated, if you're up against a really hard decision, this being connected to your values just really helps you to make those decisions a lot easier. So studies such as Brene Brown's work on a lot of her psychology research, it shows that value-aligned goals lead to higher satisfaction and resilience. And then also we increase our contentment and engagement when it aligns with our values. So then that way, when we are in our goals, that when it's hard, we can typically remind ourselves why we're doing it, and it's a little bit easier to stick with it. And I just love this quote from Brene Brown: living into our values means that we do more than profess our values, we practice them. There's also this booklet that Charles Hummel wrote in 1967, and he talked about the tyranny of urgent. So the tendency for this means the tendency for immediate, seemingly pressing tasks to take priority over important long-term goals, effectively causing us to be controlled by urgent matters rather than focusing on what truly matters most, often leading to a feeling of being overwhelmed and not achieving significant progress on key priorities. Have you ever been in a week where you get into the Monday and then all of a sudden you look at your calendar and you're like, oh my gosh, it's already Friday? How did that happen? Sometimes we just get caught in these really just overwhelming tasks that take up and consume our lives. And we don't get the time to practice what is truly important to us. An example of that would be you have a really, really busy work week and you look back and you think, oh my gosh, if you have kids, I didn't even get a chance to spend quality time with my children this week because I was just so consumed by what work threw at me this week. So that's the example of the tyranny of the urgent. Okay, so our overview for today, we want to understand values and why they matter. We want to narrow down Brene Brown's list of values to your personal top 3, and that is that document that will be in the notes of the YouTube video. So then that way, if you need to click on that and print that, go ahead and do that now. And then we will be using your values as a guide for goal setting and decision making. So let's say you're not watching this in 2025, you can certainly use this for years in the future. Okay, so that's that full list. You should be able to see that if you're full screen for sure. But the full list of values, I think she has about 75 on there. There might be more. But what are values? And values are the fundamental beliefs that guide our actions and decisions. Okay, that's any of the values that you want to consider most important. That's what we're going to start with. Okay, so at any time, I want you to pause this slide and work through this document. And what I want you to think about is we're not thinking about things that we think are important. We're thinking about things that are most important to us. And I think sometimes when we're going through this first off, you start to feel a little guilty because you're like, well, this is more important than this other thing, but it doesn't mean that that other thing is not important to me. We're thinking about what's most important. Okay. So you don't need to feel guilty. Probably 90% of these things are things that you do value, but we're looking at the top ones that you value in this list. Okay. So at any time, go ahead and pause this slide and just go through, and we're just simply highlighting all of the ones that we would consider most important. Okay. So you should have gone through the list of values and been able to narrow your list to your top 25. Okay. Now we're going to take the 25 and reduce it to your top 10. Again, we are not saying that the ones that are not in your top 10 are not important, but these are the ones that you truly value. Okay. For example, later on, we'll talk about the difference between health and family. Okay. You may not be a person that cares about your weight, but you are a person who really values time with your family. And you know that by valuing your health, you are going to value time with your family because you are going to have more longevity. So while health may be in your top 25, it may not be in your top 10. So go ahead and work through your top 25 and try to reduce that down to 10. You can pause this at any time. So you should now have your top 10 values. Now we're going to narrow that down to 3. So again, going through and really thinking about what are the 3 things in this 10 that are far and above everything else. Go ahead and think through that as long as you need. Okay, so you should have your top 3, and we'll also reference your top 10 here too, but what surprised you about narrowing down your values? I would probably guess that you really had to think about what words really resonated with you and why. Some words were probably similar, right? But you really had to sit and reflect on how you spend your time. And if you're still having a hard time, maybe you haven't narrowed it down to your top 3 yet and you're still trying to figure that out, that's okay. A really great way to do that is just reflect on how do you spend your time and where do you spend your money? A lot of times when we can think back on those 2, we really start to see where our values lie. Okay, that second bullet point. Did any of your choices feel difficult? And why? And last bullet point, how do your top 3 values show up in your daily life? I would venture to guess that it's probably values that you do spend your time and money on. Do you have other people around you that probably have similar values to yourself? Okay, now we're going to take what we just learned about ourselves and we're now going to move into some goal setting. So first, we're just considering aligning your goals with your values ensures they are meaningful and sustainable. So if you found your why, and I know for me, family is one of my top 3. So if you found your why, I know that a lot of times I might say yes or no to something if it's either adding to or taking away time from my family. Okay, some other examples are if creativity is a core value for you, your goals might include pursuing a creative project or learning a new artistic skill. And then earlier I did reference health versus family. So you might really value your family, but you may not necessarily be a person that's going to say, I care about losing a certain amount of weight. However, you find yourself working out most days of the week because you know that you want to be around for your family as long as possible. So therefore, exercise shows up a lot in your time because your why is being able to move and be healthy to stay consistent and have that longevity here for your family. Okay, so some of the science behind value-driven success. So if you look at that picture there, goals determine your habits, habits fulfill your values, and values shape your goals. It is a complete triangle here that is constantly fulfilling one another. All right. So values typically are going to act as the North Star during challenges. So if you really value your health and you have to work out early in the morning, when you have your alarm go off at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, if you have a deep why, then it's more likely you're going to be able to get up from that alarm, right? It's helping you stay focused and motivated. But if your goal was originally just to lose 20 pounds just because you want to lose 20 pounds and it's the number on the scale, those are typically the people that drop a little faster in the New Year's resolution. Okay, research shows individuals with clear values are better at coping with stress and making tough decisions. Okay, so now looking at that top three, we're going to write down one goal for each of your top three values. We're going to consider the following. How does this goal align with my values? And what actions will I take to achieve it? So after this point, and we're considering how we're connecting our goals to our values, that's where the SMART goals come in. That's where the accountability comes in. Okay, we're going to go into action after that point. But this process before we get to the SMART goals is really what's going to make it so that we have that deep understanding as to why, and it's easier to stick with it. At any time, you can pause this if you want to continue to work on three different goals, one to align with each of your top three values. Okay, a couple of key takeaways. Number one, values are the foundation of meaningful and sustainable goals. Number two, understanding your values helps in navigating decisions and challenges. And number three, living into your values leads to greater alignment and fulfillment. I want to really make sure that we listen in here on this last point for the key takeaway. Our values are our gifts. These are things that we are so well connected to. They might change over time. So doing this again in a couple of years is never a bad idea because depending on our life circumstance, we might find that especially our top three and maybe even top 10 shift a little. But when we're going to use our gifts, we don't think about sharing them with other people. We never think about sharing our gifts with other people. But oftentimes we might double think about using our gifts on ourselves. So just remembering that using our values on ourselves is a personal investment and it is worthwhile. Okay, a call to action. Reflect on your values regularly. So like I said, this might change over time, and that's okay. Make sure to come back and go through this same process and see if those have switched at all a little bit from especially that top three and top 10. revisit and adjust your goals as needed. So remember that you are not always going to have the same goals, right? So we need to come back and adjust those as needed. Okay, and what I'll leave you with today, we start our journey to our dreams by wanting, but we arrive by focusing, planning, and learning. Okay, that is all I had for you today. If you have any questions, I would love to be able to answer those for you. You can always reach out to Edge Counseling and Wellness. We have our contact info all on our website. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you in another future education. See you later. Have a great day.